personal time, meditation, reflection. Those are my essentials so that I can just take care of my body and just be a better steward to the community.
Taking time to meditate, I have a holistic doctor, to go to chiropractor, I do all the kind of saging and everything like that, but I think a lot of times self-care is just about doing whatever works for you.
So true. And perhaps one of the best ways to take care of ourselves is to keep the stress levels down. Am I right? Easier said than done, though. I mean, it is very hard to just relax. And here with tips on how to do that is Taylor Reed from Vivacity Care Center in Spokane. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely, Taylor, because we know that this is such a huge issue to everyone. Why is stress management, though, such an important part of when it comes to self-care?
Yeah, ultimately, stress management comes down to just understanding what stress is and how to notice before our bodies get into this stage of fight or flight, how to respond. So really figuring out how our bodies react to stress and what stress means helps with stress management.
That's so true. I've actually dealt myself with panic attacks in the past, which is stressed out to the max, and that fight or flight syndrome really kicks in, and it's scary. So sometimes it comes on without even a warning. So how do we know when we're starting to get to critical max, when we're starting to get overstressed, and what can we do to maybe walk it back?
Yeah, truthfully, there are some physical short-term effects of stress. We think of heart palpitations, kind of breathing quickly, excessive sleeping, social withdrawal, things like that. And even more simply, it can be just not being present in the moment, not finding joy in the things that we really do, and, not treating others who we, love and care about with the respect that they deserve. So just being really self-aware and recognizing how you are treating other people can be a really way to kind of self-reflect.
I love it. I had a therapist once tell me in regards to these things that it's just a thought. It can't hurt you. But it is a hard concept to wrap your mind around when you're, right in the middle of it, neck deep in stress. So how can we help ourselves start feeling better when we notice a change in our mood and motivation? And how do we change that when we start feeling it go downhill?
Yeah, and these aren't things that happen overnight. And I think that that's the biggest point that I want to get across, that this is a lifelong journey and a lifelong battle. But first, I like to try to focus on what I can control. I can control my words. I can control my actions. I can control some of my thoughts. I can control how I treat others. That really helps me just treat people respectfully, especially when you're in these moments, and it helps bring us down. Another thing is, adjusting your attitude. Taking, deliberate thoughts and challenges and reframe them into what type of opportunities could I be, posing with, and what type of things can I learn from this? Physical activity is huge. It has been a savior in my life and a lot of my patients' lives, is just getting outside, breathing the fresh air, taking 5 deep breaths, calming ourselves from the inside. It can really help.
No, that sounds so important. I love that term, reframing. I mean, that is something we can do in so many areas of our life, and it's so important. Sleep. What role does sleep play in stress management? I know it's a huge part of it. How are the two related, though?
Yeah. It's kind of this chicken and the egg, right? We want to sleep so that we're not stressed, but we can't fall asleep because we are stressed. So I think it kind of just depends on how your body reacts to stress, but ultimately, sleep is our body's reset. It is our time to relax. It isn't to start over. It's how our body heals itself. So figuring out how you can, set your life up for a positive sleep, whether that comes to sleep hygiene, so doing some meditation, some yoga, deep breathing, reading a book, reflecting on, doing a gratitude journal, reflecting on some positive things that have happened during the day to help you relax before you go to bed. And then ultimately, that quality of sleep at night can really determine your attitude and ability to cope and adapt to some stress during the next day. So if we wake feeling rested, we wake feeling recharged, it's going to be a lot easier to handle some of those things that are thrown at our way.
I've seen scientific evidence of this in my children. I'll just say that. I will, it's funny, speaking of parents and moms, and I feel like there's a current with all of us parents I see out there sometimes of being afraid to admit their stress, being afraid to admit any sort of mental health condition because of the stigma attached to this. How important is it that we stop that stigma, that we talk about this and say, it's okay to be stressed. You don't have to be perfect at everything, right?
No, we don't have to be perfect. I'm a mom. I have an 18-month-old and a 3.5-year-old, and I ask for help so much. Giving yourself permission, grace is the most important thing, I think, as a mom of young kids and a mom of any kids or any female, male, everybody out there. We're in a weird world right now, and we have to rely on each other in different ways. So finding your crew, how we're going to get through this, pandemic. How are we going to get through this together? Because whatever thoughts you're feeling right now, I can guarantee you're not the only one.
Wow.
We're all in this together, and it's a really hard world. And just remembering that we're all here. We're all dealing with stress in different ways, but just knowing that your neighbor's around and
your neighbors are around. Taylor, thank you so much. Taylor Reed, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you so much. Thank you for those words of wisdom. And to learn more about Vivacity Care Center, just visit the website on your screen.